Hey you guys, welcome back to my channel. My name's Carlene, I'm your host. And this video that I'm doing is, I'm doing this little mini series kind of thing on culture, things that shift and affect our culture, people and their actions that affect and influence our culture. So this one is on the Ballerina Farm because a couple of weeks ago, it really exploded over on TikTok, blew up half the internet, that Hannah Neilan on the Ballerina Farm was super unhappy and that her husband basically didn't buy her tickets to Greece. So I'll show you some images here, here, and here. But what happened? Who is Hannah Neilan? What is the Ballerina Farm? And why is this relevant? Well, the relevancy is probably more to do along the lines with the eternal question that our societies keep asking is, what is the worth and the value of a woman? What is the worth and the value of a human being? But specifically women, what do they bring to the table and what should they be able to demand as a result of bringing what they bring to the table? Now, Hannah Neilan is a woman of, I believe, Mormon heritage who married into someone of the Mormon family, the son of a multi-billionaire. Um, this guy is the son of the person that owns JetBlue. And together they decided to create a life of children farming, farm to table food, homeschooling, that kind of thing. And they put it on TikTok and on the internet for people to be inspired by, motivated by, distracted by possibly, seeing these beautiful images, but also clearly to push their business, which is they do deliver meats and other various food products to your door if you so choose. So a couple of weeks back, there was an interview done with Hannah Neilan, and the reporter who did this interview, it was kind of unanimous across the internet that this reporter did a hero's job of faithfully depicting what she actually saw, that Hannah was clearly delusional and thinking that she was living a happy life married to her husband with 8 kids and living on a farm, and that her husband was the one who was running everything, who had the hand, the last say, the direction of everything, and that she couldn't get Hannah by herself. And the occasional moment where she did, Hannah seemed kind of distant or sad and would drop little comments like, no, this wasn't really her dream life, but and so on and so forth. So I wasn't sure what to think of this at first, and because I'm very careful nowadays with media and the influencing, right? The subtle influencing that is being done and where it's really coming from, the agenda behind it, and why they're doing certain things, right? So I was just like, and I shared it with my friend, and my friend was like, this is a hit piece. It is so incredible. It is so, so, so incredible. And I was like, So I started looking deeper into it, and yeah, I personally feel it was a hit piece. It was definitely a targeted attack on that kind of life, that value, that lifestyle, but it's coming from a deeper place. So what does Hannah represent, and what does this reporting or this perspective kind of represent? Where is this all going, and why did it explode like this? And it definitely triggered a lot of people. So you're probably going to be triggered by this video as well, by this topic already. And but we're gonna have a look with the Lenormand, with the cards about Hannah and her life. And the intention is not to dig into, like, let's say, well, whatever we're allowed to see, whatever we're allowed to perceive that isn't too intimate. That's my intention. Whatever has to do with this whole controversial issue and with our culture and what it means to be a woman nowadays and who determines that, and are we truly free to choose the kind of life that we want to live? And why are women so hard on each other? Why are we so hard on each other? Okay, so I'm going to switch the camera so you can see the cards, and let's dive in and see what's going on and how this also influences our culture at large. For those of you that are interested, I am offering a Lenormand course, and it's going to be just a couple of hours, 3 to 4 hours, not much more, 2 to 3 hours, sorry, not much more. And you'll find the link to sign up for it in the description box below this video. It's coming up on the 24th of August. It's only $49.99, so go ahead and sign up for it. These are skills that you can take with you for the rest of your life. And we learn how to predict, learn how to read predictions and explanations of current situations, and how to really, really, really work the Lenormand, how to tap into it, connect with it. And I'm teaching little things that I've picked up over the years and that I've picked up in the country where Lenormand was used for generations and before it hit North America. So, okay, let's dive into Hannah Neilan and the Ballerina Farm controversy and her husband, um, Daniel, I believe. Let's see what's going on here. Ballerina Farm, Ballerina Farm, Ballerina Farm. Ballerina Farm. Immediately, I'm picking up financial concerns. In spite of them doing quite well for themselves in the public eye and seeming to feel as if, when we're looking at things, everything seems to be going smoothly and running smoothly. I do feel like there are occasional financial hiccups, glitches, concerns, hang-ups, higher expenditure than anticipated kind of things and situations. And I do feel that there is kind of a stress, there is kind of a strain. We all know children aren't cheap, and 8 children for sure aren't cheap, and a farm isn't cheap. So it does feel as if there is a steady stream of a fight, flight, survival instincts that pop up with the Neilman family. Okay. Neilman's. Neilman's. And what does this have to do with our culture? So I'm just going to lay them out and I'll switch it so that you can see. And interesting, but the first card that comes up is house, which is interesting because, yeah, we're going to their house and they do have a farmstead just like this house here. So sun, yeah, 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 yeah. I have my feather pointer. Spirit has been leaving me some beautiful thank yous and messages lately. And I've been finding lots of beautiful feathers with black and blue shimmer, or this one with this white stripe that you can barely see just around the edge here, but it's absolutely stunning. So yeah, I am appreciative. Okay, so let's dive in. We see Hannah Neilman here all the way at the top, which is interesting. I've done other readings and I've shown you how when people are all the way at the bottom, that they really don't, they're overwhelmed with their situation. But we see Hannah here under having everything under control. She feels like she's on top of the world. She's on top of things here. She feels strong and strength, very strong and capable. We've got the sun, vitality, her home, which gives her stability. And she's also someone who is more in control than people want to give her credit for. Here we see her husband, the gentleman, right? So he idolizes her. He completely idolizes her, puts her up on a pedestal. And actually, he's the one that follows her lead. He's the one that kind of is hesitant to make certain moves. Hannah is the very, very, very she's not controlling, she's not bossy, but she's very clear and very determined and very motivated in her way of things. Okay. And sorry, I'm just okay. But she's very clear, very motivated in her way of things. And she's got a good head on her shoulders. Like she really has some fantastic ideas, knows how to take care of her family, and is a mama bear. She's very protective of her family. She loves living out in nature. She couldn't imagine her life any different. She loves being out. She loves working in the earth. She loves getting her hands, I wouldn't say dirty, but feeling like productive with her hands. She's not the type to really I'd say that, her dream that she stated about wanting to be a ballerina, that was a dream of a younger, immature Hannah. The mature Hannah now, she doesn't really care about that too much. So that was another one of those catch questions that she was asked. The younger Hannah, that used to be her dream, was to be a ballerina, maybe, but I feel like she's now actually living the life of her dreams. She's on top here. She's not at the bottom, completely overwhelmed with everything that's happening and that's going on. She's on top. Her husband has taken a dip though. Like he's the one, she knows that she's idolized by him. She knows how much he cares for her. He's completely dedicated his life to her. And in a sense, he's given her his life force energy, giving her his children. There's something really romantic about that, but there's a lot of concern, and they did have a lot of conversation here. We see with birds. He went through a period of anxiety. There was anxiousness and feeling overwhelmed with the energy it takes to run this farm. She's the one that he may have wanted to give up every now and then, and maybe not clearly give up, like, oh, we're done with the farm, we're shutting everything down, I'm asking dad for a loan, we're moving. Like, no, not that. But where he maybe felt like maybe we need to step back, maybe we need to cut do a little, leave out some other projects that we had and focus on this one or something like that. But she's the one with the energy that keeps it pushing, keeps it going. And everything he does is because of her. He thrives on her energy, and not in a vampiric way, but she kind of lights the way for him. So I do feel that they have a good working relationship here. They also have a good communication. It's almost telepathic between the two of them. It's very internalized because we can see communication, the bird's thoughts, connect her connector card to him. They're very close, by the way. They're very close to one another. A lot of times when I read couples, you can see somebody over here and the other person over here, everybody doing their own thing, but they're really close to one another. She feels like he's got her back, and they feel supported by one another. But he does follow her direction. So everybody thinking that it's him laying down the law, we're seeing here right now that it isn't. It's actually her determining the direction that they go in. He might be the outer voice, he might be that masculine image, but he's actually someone with a lot of anxiety. She doesn't deal that much with anxiety. She takes his anxiety a little bit, and he feels that this is his destiny. This is the cross. This is his life. We see the cross here hanging on her neck. This is his life. This is his destiny. He's looking to his destiny. This is what he's going to do until he dies. He's certain of it. Interestingly, we see the children here and underneath the number 8 and the coffin, and we do have 8 children. They do have 8 children. There's a rambunctiousness. I'm not quite sure if they have a set of twins, but there's definitely twins in his lineage or in his DNA that would be coming in. It could be that they have one more child to go. This would be another girl, possibly. But they are planning more children. That is a for sure. They're not done yet. There's a pause here, though. There's a pause. He's definitely someone who is from money, but he doesn't make a big thing out of that. We see here the ship, and the ship, remember you guys, has to do with big money, with emotions, with long distance, with merchants, with overseas, with expansion. So this is where he comes from, because remember, where the figures look or face, that's their future. What they're turned away from is their past. And she does have money anxieties. We see here the birds and the ship, and then we have the lilies and the snakes. So I bet this comes to her from her mother, certain money anxieties, frugality, a certain frugality, being anxious about money. He has anxiousness, but it's not from that. It's more from possibly doing the right thing at his work and making the right decisions in his work. Focusing on the right things, being a good businessman, that's what causes him anxiety. It's interesting because we see people that do things in such a nonchalant way, and we see people that go about things in ways that are like, they make it seem so easy. And then it turns out when you tap into the cards that it's not really that way at all, that they make it look easy, but it's not that easy for them. And running this business, this Neilan family thing, it's not that easy for him. And I can imagine that he faced a little bit of backlash in the beginning when he started doing that, possibly from his family, wondering, what are you on about? Like, what are you on about? And we see here that he does have issues. He may have with his birth family, there may have been there's no cutoff, but there may have been arguments. He may be the black sheep or the wild child or someone who kind of stepped out, did things differently, but he kind of walked away from their way of doing things. But the family is loyal. Overall, this is a loyal family on all sides, on her side as well as on his side. Even though they may not completely understand what these two are doing. They're down here. And we also see, we can take the ship as a travel company. We know that he's coming from a company that, a family that owns an airline, right? So that's what they're known for, is travel. And here we have book and tree. So that's his ancestry. In the diagonal, we have book. You can't see the book, but there's a book right underneath the moon. I can't show it to you guys otherwise, but there's a book. Wait, maybe see book. And so we see that in his direct line that he's moved out from and is moving away from, he's creating a new legacy. These are his children here. He's creating a new legacy. There's some kind of a discrepancy between the family and his children. I'm not quite sure what this is about, but it could be, I don't know. But there's some kind of irritation that is happening between his children and the family. Maybe it has to do with inheritances, maybe it has to do, I don't know. But there's some kind of, because this has to do with argument and strife, the broom. But they probably came to some kind of an agreement or an understanding with the bouquet. But it feels like he's, all of a sudden I felt like he's fighting so hard to leave a legacy for his children, because his children might be the last generation that is able to benefit from his family that he came out of. So he needs to build something to leave something for his children, to give to their children. In the center of the Neilmans here and the Ballerina Farm, we've got the anchor, which has to do with work, has to do with career, has to do with what makes you feel grounded and settled in this world. We've got the star, which has to do with focus, positive intentions, positive outcome. But the star I've also found a lot around media, so social media, high level of visibility. We've got loyalty in the dog and friends, and we've got the mountain, difficulties. Yeah. And this is exactly what I'm picking up here. And so the difficulties come in with the work, Hannah, work, career, block, and the stork. The stork indicates maternal energies, shifts, changes, but definitely a feminine kind of energy. And we have here Scythe and Fox. So people, they're, Fox has to do with illusions, deception, and Scythe has to do with strife, cutting things off, ending. Scythe is actually the actual death card. So I want to say that this almost, this is a drain for her now. The social media thing is a drain for Hannah. She has to keep it going because of their business, but it's a drain for her now. And I think this is what his family saw coming, because his family figures prominently here. And it feels as if there may have been discussions, conversations around their pathway, around their business plan, you name it, moving forward, but it's a drain for her. She didn't expect people to criticize her so much. There's a lot of malevolence here with the scythe and the fox, but it's like this creepy, sneaky, backstabby kind of malevolence. But we also have right next to the stork the letter. So I feel like this is actually that journalist because it's right in between the book and the letter, which is the written word. So, and this is a feminine energy, someone who also travels. So with the stork, and her feeling, and here we have, is that the path or the garden? The path, yeah. She had a choice, right? The path represents choices that we make in life. And up here is the garden. And the garden usually represents out there, society at large, and a lack of desire on Hannah Neilman's part to be a part of that. He in clouds. But this journalist here we have right next to her is the fox, and the fox always shows a liar. If the fox in the grand tableau is close to a person, because the cards around the person indicate the personality of the person and how they present. And so if the fox is far away from a person, this indicates that the person is telling the truth, is not a liar. But if a fox is close to a person, it's indicating that this person is lying. I'm going to take this as the journalist because it's in between the book and right next to her is the letter, which is spoken written word. And Skythe, the journalist did have to go back on what she wrote. She did do a small blurb in which she explained that yeah, some things might have been taken out of context, but it wasn't her intention to. That's it in a nutshell what she said. So I'll post the links to that in the description box. But here we're seeing deception and dishonesty, and she's going to be cut off now moving forward. She's kind of sawed off a branch on her own career tree. This was meant to boost her career, elevate her mountain, but it didn't. It's put a block in her path now. There's a stubbornness with this journalist as well. Very stubborn, deceitful person, unfortunately, because again, the stork can represent a person. The letter, not so much, but the letter right next to the stork indicates someone who had who's a writer, who's writes, articles or letters. We have the choice here. We have deception. We have stubbornness, the mountain. We have the clover, which is short term, shallow, could be dark haired, dark eyed. We have the scythe, argumentative. And we have the tree, which is interesting. The tree can indicates minor health concerns, but also someone who's steadfast. So she's kind of, it's showing here, she's very steadfast in her shallow assertion of things. There's a natural cunningness about her, a duplicity with the paths. So not, not really staying to one, but choosing whatever benefits her the most. And there's something missing because normally there should be another card here, but there isn't, because all the cards have been laid out. But to fully give her a full perspective here. There was a promise of money. Look, I knew it. There was a promise of money with this piece. There was a promise of money, the fish. That's why she wrote it. And here a contract, the ring, a contract. She didn't just do it on her own. There's an agenda behind what this journalist wrote about Hannah and the Ballerina Farm. Because here we see the fish, which, like I said, has to do with money, with dreams, with on the flip side, though, the fish are two very distinct separate things. The fish can represent money, and dreams, or it represents drugs. Okay, so in this case, I don't think drugs really applies. So I'll take the dreams and the money that came here, the ring, which is always a contract or an agreement, and the decision to go with that contract and agreement and to be duplicitous regarding that. So there's some kind of a back deal that they made to take down the Ballerina Farm. And we're going to have to look to why that could possibly be interesting. It's interesting because the birds is such a connector between these two. And the birds can indicate, like I said before, anxiety. So he used to be anxious around her. She gave him butterflies. But because the birds are underneath her, this is something that she doesn't deal with, look at, face, acknowledge, recognize. So, but it's there for her too. Yeah, there's definitely because when we look at the journalist, which is the stork, the connecting card up here is the mice. The mice also always indicates loss. And so the connecting card between Hannah and the journalist is the mice. And on the other side, it's the lilies. So there was an attempt to disharmonize or bring down this harmony, because lilies represents harmony, sexuality, maturity, and here there's a lack. So there was a lack of maturity on this journalist's part, possibly, maybe Hannah's, I'm not quite sure, but there was a lack of maturity playing in here. And also a lack of harmony, a desire to destabilize or take out the harmony. In the future, they're going to be a lot smarter about their deals. The snake, which has to do with wisdom, the moon, which has to do with their career and how they, how they're seen in the public eye. The tree, which has to do with the longevity of their things, and the sky, they're going to be a lot harder moving forward. And the Ballerina Farm is where Hannah and her husband have learned from this experience. And what's surprising was it seems that Daniel was exceedingly kind to this journalist, because we have here the heart, which is the connection to the journalist, and the bouquet. So it seems like he was really trying to be super open, super connected, and possibly felt an actual connection, like this was going to go well, like this was a good thing. And then she blindsided him. So they absolutely feel like this person was a fake. Mm, okay. Hannah is the star, and we see that here. Connected to her is the star. So she's the star of this whole situation and of their little business. Whereas her husband kind of tends to the overall things. He's connected to the garden. He's also connected to the mountain. He's there to provide stability. He's tired. There's a depression with him and a tiredness, the coffin. And he's very sensual. He but family is his everything. But he's tired. I don't think he'd want he might want one more child, but something has come to an end for him. Okay. Some aspect of life, but there's a depression as well and a tiredness. He's oh, I'm sorry, you guys. I said he was connected to the garden. That's why I wasn't. He's connected to the bear, being very protective of Hannah. He's tired. He's loyal. He's a deeply, intensely loyal person. This is the dog. And he's very, very sensual. Hannah is also loyal. Interesting that you can see the loyalty here. Look, he connects to loyalty, but so does Hannah. But Hannah's a little bit more argumentative. Like she can let it rip, you guys, like no joke. She's connected to the broom here, so she can really sweep out the energies. She definitely feels like this is destiny as well. Both of them feel like this is destiny. This is the way things were supposed to be. This is the life they were meant to live. But they do have difficulties with money. Mhm. Okay, let's have a look at this journalist. This journalist thought this would be a quick move, the writer to fame, the stars. It's a contract. It was definitely an agreement that she made to write that kind of story. It was premeditated. She's also loyal. And she got to Hannah through a mutual connection, possibly, through a friend. Definitely career focused. Mhm. Okay, let's have a look at the personalities. So next to Hannah, we see here the sun, her husband, the birds, the anchor, and the bear. So we see that she's a very tense person. She's actually very tightly wound. She disregards her anxieties and probably pours that energy into, she has a lot of energy, is really healthy. And we also see with the sun that she's got this electric vibe about her. She probably has a really big aura field when you actually meet her in person. The sun would also indicate, of course, that she's blonde or light haired, lighter colored. And we've got the bear on the flip side, which is indicating as well that she's a very protective person, a very loyal person, and also a powerful person. Anchor, someone who takes her work seriously. She's a hard worker, but also very influenced by her husband. Yes. When we look at his cards, we get a more fuller picture. And we've got the house, which is stable, the sun as well. So also high energy person, but he's got dark hair. So, but his hair might lighten. He might lose hair as he ages. He might not. But also a very anxious person, also um, formed by her, shaped by her, by his relationship to her. A wealthy person, someone who deals well with wealth, but he's not very argumentative. He's not the guy to really argue with. He can, but he's not one to go there unless he's seriously provoked. He seems pretty chill because this argument thing is card is underneath his feet. It's what he stands on. He knows how to deal with these kind of energies. He's not argumentative, but he's very he believes in fate and he believes in destiny. And the cross in this case, I want to also take it as religious. So they do share the same religion or the same worldview. So cross for her, and he's looking at that. And this journalist, like I said before, we already did the personality read here. So he definitely wanted to fight this situation. It feels like he wanted to fight it. She's all about the home. This journalist now feels that she lost. This journalist now feels that she lost. She feels she lost, and she's all the way at the bottom. So here we see the person who's overwhelmed with everything that went on and that happened. is all the way at the bottom, right? So this journalist that did this expose, these two came out on top, but she didn't. But money switched hands. There's definitely, here we have the house, we have the coffin, we have the clouds, which is concern and worry. We have fish. Definitely, I'm seeing financial issues for Ballerina Farm. The sun, the key, the letter, and the bouquet. This article did give them exposure, so that was good. The lady, the mice, the stork. Hannah did lose her peace over this situation. I really believe that he wanted to sue or litigate. He wanted to do something to legally move against this stork, against this journalist. There's heavy anxiety around money and finances and the impact as well that these articles of this kind could have on them. Yeah. Okay, so that's what's coming up. Now we're going to have a look at why this piece would be so interesting, or why this agenda of doing a hit piece on a family. Okay. So for that, let me switch the camera again. I do see another girl coming in for this family though. I do see them having maybe one more child. Um, I believe on a different timeline, their number would have been 11, 12 children, but on this one, it's 9. Mhm. So why would this be a hit piece? Why would this be so important or relevant? Why is this? Because we know that lifestyles like hers are so harshly judged by other women, but by society at large, because it feels fake. We moved out of an eras of living like that. Women fought not to have to live like that any longer, and moved into so-called emancipation, which arguably is even worse. But um, people acknowledge the hardships that women went through before, and that were living that lifestyle, and that couldn't leave, that were trapped, that were um, brainwashed or hooked in through the children or what have you, completely dependent. But that's not the case here with the Ballerina Farm. It may have been the case 40, 50, 60, 70 years ago, or today with other kinds of arrangements and such, but not these two. No. If anything, she's the one that kind of determines the direction. Um, she doesn't rule over the household. She just influences the direction, and he tends to follow her more. So when she has a good feeling about something, or when she says, yeah, I can do this, then he goes with that. But if she says no, then he totally respects that and doesn't move along with it. So he does try to convince her, though. He does try to convince her. And he does pout, like he's a pouter. For some reason that came through really clearly. Like he's not a warrior in that sense, but he pouts. And she's fine with it. She can, I mean, everybody's, that's partnered up. You learn how to deal with your partner's ways of seeing and going about things, right? So, but why was this hit piece written? Why was this hit piece written, Spirit? What's the agenda? Now, people are fed up as well with this classic image of cute blonde girl and, this homecoming queen kind of coupledom. And it makes them feel so inadequate. It's something that they'll never ever be able to achieve, this absolute vision. And it's interesting because it's so deeply triggering to so many people nowadays, and they don't see themselves as such. Of course, they don't see that about themselves. I don't think they're fully aware of that aspect of their image. But yeah, so what was the intention of this hit piece, Spirit? What was the agenda? What was the intention? And I'm just doing a 9-card layout. So it's 3 at the top, 3 in the middle, 3 at the bottom, but I lay it out in a star form. Okay. Okay, so what's going on here, please? Well, we've got, and one second, I'm just gonna, okay, so you're seeing what I'm seeing? Okay, so we've got here the mountain in the center and this difficulty. There's a hardness or a difficulty, something that is overwhelming, something that is hard to shift or hard to change, that is being some kind of a difficulty that is being looked at. Um, where's this headpiece right? Now, what's interesting here is at the top right, we see Hannah again. Next to her is the ship, so desires and money, and the heart is right next to that. So this was in her past a desire for more money. This was her intention. A desire to expand the business, possibly. Okay, what I'm getting from these cards, you guys, is that Hannah herself kind of made a mistake here. Kind of made a mistake. It kind of backfired. Whatever the plan was with this interview, it was to gain more exposure to make more money. She was seeking to make herself relatable. That's what I'm feeling here with the star, the stork. The stork is a very relatable energy. It's a maternal energy. It's a nurturing energy. In the courses, that I grew up with and that I did, it's like this can also represent, for example, your hairdresser, someone who takes care of you, who's very caring, nurturing. And so she does have that energy about her. She also has this heart energy about her, but this heart, she was seeing some kind of difficulty with her business, with whatever. It may have been financial, likely financial. And this was supposed to be an opportunity, the sun. And the sun is underneath her feet. It was supposed to be a controlled opportunity, but it backfired, the tower. Yeah, this was a little, I don't want to say Hannah did this on purpose. Like that would be, no, not fully right. But maybe her subconscious had a play in it, because she does have this way about her when you watch her that is kind of like, oh, yeah. There's a sadness and a yearning that just flows through her energy, and people can interpret it any which way they like. And she just kind of let it happen. She also took her time letting things blow up before she responded to it. So there was the thought in the back of her mind, I'm fairly sure after seeing these cards, that this could be good for business. And I hope it was good for her in her business. I sincerely do. But why? Why would, let me, so remember to join my Lenormand workshop, you guys. The link is in the description box below this video. And I'm just going to ask a different deck why this hit piece would be so relevant, why it was created, why it's so different, relevant. Why was this hit piece written on Hannah Neilan, please? Why is this hit piece written on Hannah Neilan? Okay. And it's interesting because this was marketed to her as being supportive initially. This was something that they believed was supportive. In the center, we see the card representing support. On the left, in the middle, we see self-worth and self-value. And on the right, that woman with a white collar, we see magic. On top of the woman with a white collar, we see wisdom. Next to that, the heart is to search. The teacup is harmony and balance. At the bottom left, we've got romance. In the middle, we have bottom middle, we have filter, and bottom right is fight or flight or reflex energy. Okay. So when I'm asking why was this hit piece written, what was the purpose or the point behind it? Um, I'm getting that this journalist wasn't emotionally mature enough for the job yet. She just wasn't. It was a lack of emotional maturity, a lack of feminine maturity, a lack of maturity overall. And she's still on the search for something that will make sense in her mind of womanhood, femininity, how to live as a woman, the various kinds of women, and that they're all okay. And to kind of bring it together in her brain and her mind to align with her values, because she has these values. So when she sees something that goes contrary to it, she doesn't know how to align that. She doesn't know how to bring that into cohesion. So it kind of becomes something she has to fight against or battle against. This is somehow intrinsic, it's instinctual for her. It also has to do with, and this is really targeting the reporter. It feels like, yes, there was some kind of a monetary gain for her and status gain for her, but it wasn't a direct, this is the article that you have to write line for line. But it was like, oh, go check it out to see if that's really, really the way she lives over there. And she thought she was coming back with a scoop, and she thought this is going to be putting her on the map, in a sense, making her self more important. But really, she was deeply triggered by what she saw when she was there, because it goes against everything that she probably grew up with and saw, that she experienced. And this is probably really tough because it's the hardest kind of um healing healing lesson for this journalist in all public eye, and for one of the biggest newspapers in North America. And it's definitely a spiritual exercise for her. It's a spiritual lesson for her, and it goes deep for her because she doesn't realize, but she's realizing slowly now, how unconscious she was in her action and what she did there. And she was used by an energy, by a stream of consciousness itself that goes against femininity, womanhood, family, that kind of thing, right? And this absolutely has to do with her self-confidence and her self-worth, why it came up like that, or came out like that. So what it's going to give her is definitely wisdom, and she's going to gain the magic, or the eye for magic, the eye for beauty, that she previously didn't have. It's a new form of sensitivity that is awakening for her. And she's definitely going to have to face her traumas, because that's the fight or flight at the bottom, and how that triggered her into seeing things a certain way, hearing things a certain way, perceiving things a certain way that weren't necessarily the truth, and portraying it that way, of course. The romance card I take to be as a naivete. She went into this naively, the journalist, and she saw through her filters. That's pretty clear, because she was triggered. Okay. So yeah, this is definitely going to, this was meant to be, it was destiny, and it's definitely a healing for this woman. And I'll be excited to read more of her articles as we move forward, to see her growth and her development. But she's definitely on the search for unifying and making harmonious the truth of life, the truth of life, right? But also her ideals and her utopian kind of visions, and putting them in contrast with the rawness of life, the reality of life. So but she definitely wasn't the right person, even though from a spiritual point of view she was, because this is her journey, her lesson, her mission. But to accurately reflect the this kind of life, choosing to have 8 children, valuing that instead of valuing career, valuing money, valuing so-called independence, which is actually loneliness, and so many people saying they don't want to live that lifestyle anymore as well. But valuing that over the life that this journalist was living was a trigger for her. Absolutely a trigger for her. So not everybody's going to agree with this reading. They're going to say, Carlene, you're missing it. He really is just, he stole her dream. And I'm like, guys, it's 2024, and she is definitely in a at least financial position to, if he really stole her dream, to move on from that, find some way to move on from that. And nowadays I find it really hard to believe that any woman would give her body to a man that she doesn't love for him to make 8 children on her. Not in 2018, 2024 in North America, right? So I'm sure it still happens, but on the educational level of Hannah, with the family support that Hannah has, her mother and her sister and the rest of her family, probably supportive friends, likely, but also just her own self. Um, I I I don't know. That's kind of, I don't know. Because people are not that uneducated in our society anymore. It's no. So she must be there. And then people are going to say, yeah, but it's Stockholm syndrome. Like, he did this to her and it's all his fault. Well, I believe that this triggers a lot of people because people, when they see her, no matter what you see in that she's living, you see choice. And you see the power of choice and you see the power of knowledge, and will make excuses saying that even if it were true that he was holding her hostage, that she couldn't leave, that she gave up her dream and all she got was an egg apron and she wasn't allowed to go to Greece, even though they went other places. And people complained there that he worked on their other holidays, like when they went to other places. And I'm like, you guys want a man with money, but he's not supposed to work? Like, how does that? So, in any case, you guys know where I'm going with this. And at least the people that I want to reach know where I'm going with this. But I do believe that that's what's the real trigger is deep down inside. Is the real trigger are, I believe, two things. Number one, noticing how empty life can be without family and friends. And I know a lot of people are going to say, I have my work and I'm totally fulfilled and enjoy that. Good for you. But other people who are more wired that way, that do want family, that do want that husband or the wife and the support and the partner and the emotional connections, they will find her lifestyle deeply, and if they don't have it, they might find her lifestyle deeply triggering. And then, of course, the whole question around the worth of a woman, what is a woman, right, nowadays? And is it wiping up after 8 kids? Most women nowadays would say that's not their dream life. So they can't fathom that another woman would say, that is my dream life, and I'm gonna live it. And so it's hard to really for a lot of women to comprehend. So is that a good thing or a bad thing? Her choice, whatever it is, it's her choice. It's her choice. So culturally, what did this show us? And I'm not targeting you individually and pointing fingers here, but culturally, what does that show us? It's we're still in that debate about how a woman is allowed to live her life, whether it was back then or today. Looking at a woman and saying, this is how you're supposed to be as a woman. This is the kind of life you're supposed to live as a woman. This is what you're supposed to want. This is what you're supposed to emulate and embody. This is what you're supposed to enjoy. And if you do not do this, then you have to take on the responsibility of influencing all these mindless, incapable of making their own decisions, helpless women out there who are unable to be supportive of decisions that are, that other women make, that are different from what they would make from themselves. And but also influencing people to do things or find things that are good, which are not necessarily good. But it's interesting because what is good is having a family and sacrificing for that family and supporting that family a good thing? Or is it not having a family, having absolute freedom and no one to share it with? And I'm not speaking about extremes, you guys. I'm not speaking about abusive, toxic, absolute like families that unfortunately most of us grew up in or had contact with in some way, shape, or form, but like the base notion of what family is or what's valuable in life. I don't know. So I leave that to you to figure out for yourself, obviously. But for me, I wasn't triggered by her. I wasn't invested that much in her. I didn't care how she, like I honestly didn't. I found the hoopla interesting. I found the outrage interesting. And I found the immediate jump on bashing her husband as being like this horrible person also interesting. And there are other aspects to the internet and the internet opinion which I also find interesting, such as a guy who has unalived two women sitting trial and people writing how hot he is and women writing how hot he is. I'm like, what happened? So I don't know. It's such a contrast, and that's what we're here to experience, I've heard. I hope you enjoyed this Lenormand reading, and let me know your comments, your ideas in the comment section below. And remember that when it comes to the lives of other people, that a lot of it is projection, what we see, right? So whatever you're seeing over there, it's already in your field of experience and your consciousness. And be mindful of that and utilize it as a tool for self-reflection to reflect on, oh, thank you, situation, for bringing this up and out in me. I see that. How can I now heal this, dissolve this, grow this, expand this, diminish this, release this, do whatever I need to do with this to bring my system into harmony? Okay. So, and otherwise, you guys, I hope you live the most fulfilled life in your own way and that things come to you with ease and happiness and that you're allowed to accept it with ease, happiness, and grace. Thank you for watching this. Make sure you sign up for the Lenormand course in the description box below or sign up for your own personal reading. I'm so happy to work with you, to do a reading with you and see what your potentials and your opportunities and options are for moving forward and ahead in your own life. Otherwise, take care, you guys. See you in the next one. Bye.